you get Strack, or yeah, Strack, he gets the rivet gun and he's shooting at him with the rivet gun. And you get a couple of point of view shots from the point of view of the rivets flying
Yeah.
towards Darkman and the ones that are missing him. And then he gets shot in the hand with it. And then he ends up getting the upper hand in this scene, no pun intended, by ripping his hand out off through the rivet and punching him in the face. Welcome back to the Great American Movie Review, where we review great American movies.
My name is Kyle.
And I'm Mikiah. This is a Movie of the Week style podcast where we take turns picking films and we talk about them. This week was my choice, and I have selected the 1990 campy classic Darkman. Darkman is about a scientist, Peyton Westlake, who, in the midst of developing a new liquid skin replacement technology, is horribly burned after getting caught up in the middle of a real estate scandal. The movie was made back in 1990 with a $14 million budget, and it grossed almost $49 million, which in today's terms would be grossing $114 million on a $32 million budget. So it was like a decent mid-budget hit back in the day, which is kind of
For
surprising.
what was it? Rated R?
Yeah, it's rated R, and
Yeah, for rated R, that's not bad.
yeah, it's pretty good. And once again, it's before international distribution and everything, so you're not going to see
Yeah.
this on any top box office lists, but it was a hit. It actually technically had 2 sequels that they made, although those didn't even really get proper theatrical releases or anything.
Made to DVD, right?
Kind of, yeah. Pretty
Or
much.
straight to DVD.
Pretty much, yeah. And they didn't have any of the...
They also replaced Liam Neeson.
Right.
Yeah.
They didn't,
Guy with the Mummy, as I recall.
Yeah, and they replaced Frances McDormand. They have one of the other characters from actually this movie, but that character died in this movie, so I don't know how they brought him back. I haven't seen the sequels. Yeah, I don't really...
Durant, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I have...
Because I think the second one is Return of Durant, and then
Right.
Darkman 3 is Die, Darkman Die, or
Yeah.
Die Harder with a Vengeance, Darkman,
He's
or
like...
something like that. It's silly.
Yeah, he's like the one returning actor, the guy who played Durant. So, but
Yeah.
I never bothered with those because...
It's parallel universe Darkman.
Yeah, because this is a Sam Raimi movie through and through, which I've brought up Sam Raimi already a few times on this show. And
As have I.
yes, and it's because I have a deep love for Sam Raimi and the kind of sensibilities that he brings to his filmmaking. It's extremely unique. There's a reason that people reference him as much as they do, even though he hasn't really made actually that many movies overall. But he's had an impact on the general landscape of filmmaking for sure in that kind of limited filmography.
Yeah, he's definitely slowed down. I'd say he was very influential when it came to campy horrors or
Yeah.
horror comedies back in the day.
Yeah, because he was, of course, known for...
And that definitely shows.
Yeah, he was, of course, known for The Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2.
The franchise that's still going.
Yes, a franchise that's still going. So the Evil Dead franchise has just been kind of a staple of the horror genre since 1981 when the original came out. And up to this point, this was his 4th movie that he did, because he did 2 Evil Dead movies, and in between those he did the movie Crime Wave, which is his only movie that I still haven't seen. Well, actually, I haven't seen Oz the Great and Powerful either, but
Oh, I've seen that. You don't need to watch
yeah,
it.
I don't need to, but I'm going to, just because I'm trying to catch up on all of his movies I haven't seen.
I'm saying that for everyone else.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty subpar.
Yeah, that one looked like one that got kind of churned up in the Disney machine. So
Wait, is it Disney? I thought Oz was I thought it was MGM.
I think Disney's or Oz itself is public domain, so anybody can make an Oz movie.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah, just
Mhm.
just the book that's based on, as well as
Right.
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so you've seen, there've been like lots of Oz movies out there over the years.
Man, that was 85 years ago. It was
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So yeah, just because, yeah, so I guess Disney decided we're gonna make a prequel, which I was like, okay, weird, but okay. um,
Well, Return to Oz wasn't exactly the best. So
no,
I guess instead of moving forward, you got to move backward.
yeah, I guess so, but either way, that was his last big movie he did before Doctor Strange, and I don't know if the 10-year break there and then was a his choice, because he did move into a lot more producerial capacity roles.
So when it comes to, this is a huge tangent. When it comes to Doctor Strange, the person who originally did Doctor Strange 1 was still on the books to direct the second one, but he left because of creative
Yeah,
differences. If
Scott
that makes a
Derrickson.
lot of sense, which it does to me, and hopefully it does to a lot of people, it absolutely makes sense why the movie turned out the way it is.
Right. That movie, as much as I do still enjoy it, I know you don't, but that it has deep flaws, and I think it like Raimi was clearly brought on. From my perspective, the reason I ended up enjoying that movie, despite everything that honestly anybody who has criticism against it, very justifiable, but because I think that Sam Raimi came in as a hired hand type director, like he didn't have any real involvement in the actual script process as much, in the development process. The movie was pretty well developed before he came on board because
Yeah.
so he just kind of came on as a hired hand, and I think he infused still a lot of his sensibilities into it and seemed to have a good time making it, at least from what I got across in the movie. And I always enjoy what he brings to movies, so I actually watched Darkman after that one came out for the first time, and because I was just like, I gotta go back.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
I
I
didn't.
thought you had.
No, I don't.
I thought you had. Wow.
Yeah, I don't have like a long history with Darkman. It was one of those, like, I love the Evil Dead movies. I adore his Spider-Man movies. I grew up on those. And
Because that's the thing that I noticed about whenever I went back to like see what people thought of this movie after watching it. A lot of people have like a great nostalgia for this movie.
yeah, I don't. I just love Sam Raimi's sensibilities, and this movie kind of hit everything right for me. I didn't expect a lot from it actually. I just kind of thought it was going to be like, okay, this is him kind of doing his own weird thing in that
It
period
is
of time.
definitely 100% Sam Raimi.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you were to go back and look at it, Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2, which I haven't seen the first Evil Dead, I've seen the second one.
Mhm.
That you can definitely tell it's Sam Raimi, but it's compared to Darkman, Evil Dead 2 is reserved
Oh, yeah.
comparatively, which is insane to me because Evil Dead 2 is, uh, in my opinion, it's Sam Raimi's best work.
Oh, yeah.
So it's kind of weird
I mean, he
that
had more of a
to think
budget
that.
for this than any of the Evil Dead stuff that he did. Until, I think maybe Army of Darkness had a similar budget to this, but
Which that one was a flop. No,
I don't remember honestly. But
I can look it up real quick, but I'm pretty sure. So we talked about in Pitch Black or in the Pitch Black episode, some directors uh doing favors for the studios in order to get the projects that they
right.
want. Like Peter Berg, I think it was Universal actually, uh, forcing him to do Battleship in order to do Lone Survivor, which is a much better movie. Um, and I think I could be wrong about this, but I think Sam Raimi uh, was doing Darkman so that he could do Army of Darkness eventually, and that's the reason why they got Liam Neeson instead of just letting Bruce Campbell be Darkman.
I don't think that's the case. The not letting Bruce Campbell being Darkman, that's definitely a studio
That was
thing.
absolutely a studio thing.
But I don't think that's the case because Darkman's such an original idea for Raimi. Like, it's literally his idea. It's his character that he created. And so,
Yep.
like, I that would be true, I think, more so if it was like a big IP style movie, but it was not at all.
I could absolutely be wrong about that. I could eventually look it up and we could figure it out. But what I do know is Army of Darkness had an estimated $13 million budget and grossed worldwide 11.5 million.
Oh yeah, that's a big flop.
So not great.
Army of Darkness. Okay, so this will tell you a lot about where we're gonna stand on this then,
Hmm.
because Army of Darkness is actually my favorite Evil Dead movie. So
Okay. I haven't seen that, so I can't form an opinion on the first one or the third one. I just already owned the second one, so I
right,
decided to watch it.
yeah.
And
So
also because my thoughts on this movie don't really reflect how I feel Sam Raimi as a director necessarily.
yeah,
So I really wanted to watch something else that way I could think, okay, I felt one way about this movie, maybe I'll feel one way about another one of his movies. And I did. Because the
it's all subjective.
yeah, because the movies that I had seen from him with this movie specifically, absolutely. There's the nice things that I can say about it are the production money went to a good place. He has some really good practical effects
Yeah,
and some pretty good special effects for the time. I think a lot of it's dated now. But if you're doing a comic esque book movie, in 1990. It's absolutely going to be dated now.
Yeah.
So that's not really his fault. Some of the direction I like, that's just Sam Raimi. He was already fairly seasoned when it came to horror-esque or comedy campy style movies, so it makes sense, all of his choices, even though I think some of them really are rough when it comes to just portraying a character or portraying a movie like this. It doesn't really come across to me as well done
I can't
as it could have been.
This is one of those where I can't disagree with you. However, I love everything about this movie, even the stuff that makes no sense. Because this out of everything we've watched, like we've been on a hot streak, with some really great movies. But this one, out of all of them, I just have a stupid grin on my face watching the whole
So
time.
I was going to make an analogy. So there are movies, of course, that people think are so bad that they're good. I'm not making this distinction immediately. I'm saying that movies like The Room are so bad that people tear them apart so much that they find joy in it. I think that's the good that they find from it. I don't think so bad it's good. I don't think it turns around to being good just because it's so bad. I think it's so bad that it's enjoyable. Troll 2 is definitely one of those. I was going to make the analogy, the way you feel about this movie is the way that I feel about Pitch Black, but I don't think that's true. The way you feel about this movie is the way I feel about Troll 2. The reason I would watch Troll 2 or League of Extraordinary Gentlemen or The Room is with friends, that way I could tear it apart.
Okay, but here's the thing. I don't think this movie's bad. I actually think this movie is good. So
Okay.
I don't think that this movie's bad. I think that there are things in it
No,
that are
no, I was
silly.
making the distinction. I
I
was
see.
making the distinction. So originally,
Okay.
I was thinking, because the way you feel about Pitch Black is you are disappointed by it, but you're okay that it exists, which is kind of the way I feel about this movie. But I would much rather watch this movie with friends. That way I can absolutely demolish it,
Oh,
because it is absolutely stupid. Like
watching
there
this.
is
Yeah.
watching this alone with a critical mind is a foolish notion. It
Right.
is.
So I
Ugh.
mentioned I mentioned that the movie is about Liam Neeson is your main character here. He
Mhm.
plays this scientist Peyton Westlake. He's in this relationship with Frances McDormand, and he loves her. He wants to marry her, but he's a scientist and he's developing this special skin, this liquid skin, but for like skin replacement stuff, but he can't get it to work. It always, after 99 minutes, it always bubbles up and like dissolves. So then after this whole situation happens where you've got the evil corporation of Strack and their CEO, and they want all of this real estate to build this new like super
Which,
city.
man, that's just thrown in for literally 2 lines about the model city, and then he opens the door and it's just immediately out there as if she didn't notice it walking into the building.
Right, right. I'm like, how did she not see
I'm
that?
sorry.
The
This
whole
is
city.
just not just that. It's just 2 scenes. They
Right.
go, not even 2 scenes, 1.5 scenes. They go over the real estate juncture as if this is like the whole stakes of the plot. But
Right.
I don't understand any of it. I don't understand why he has to pay off people. He does. They don't bring in any characters talking about the payoffs other than Francis McDormand and Strack. His name is, I guess.
Right.
Oh,
Well, and going into another thing that's kind of weird is like, okay, so they realize before they have the
this whole
gang
movie
come
is
in,
kind of weird.
before they have the gang come in and like mess up his whole lab because they're trying to find this document that
Which, why was
accident.
the paper with
I
him?
don't know. It got left with him on accident.
How?
It's all just a big accident basically that happens here. But
They
because
don't show that though.
right, but because he has
It's
it.
just a payoff with no setup.
Right, well, because he has it though, either way, they go in and they bust up his
How does
place.
Durant know he has it?
And
How would Strack know that he has it?
well, because
Wouldn't they wouldn't they assume it's on Frances McDormand's character?
but
What
she
is her
said
name?
she didn't have it.
Julie.
Yeah, but she didn't have it. So
They
yeah.
Couldn't it be at her desk? Couldn't it be in her office? What? Couldn't it be in their apartment? Why does it have to be on him?
Well, either way, it is on him, and that's where they go.
Okay.
And
All
so
right.
they
Sure.
literally blow him up, which is a hilarious, incredible shot where they blow up the whole like place that he works, and he flies out the top of the explosion after receiving all of these like horrible chemical burns. And, but okay, so but right before then, they discover, oh, the lights went out, so they discover, oh, it's actually the exposure to light that causes the skin to dissolve. So then throughout the movie, once he's horribly disfigured and everything, and he's Darkman now, he's going around and trying to stop these like criminals and figure out like the people at the top and everything. But so he goes on and he like scans their skin and like wears their skin. So you would think though, because of the whole dissolving in light thing, that he would only go out
Why
at,
wouldn't you do it at
yeah, why
dark?
wouldn't
Yeah.
he do it at night? No, every single thing he does in this movie is in
Is
broad
during the
daylight.
day.
It's in broad daylight.
Except for literally the last scene, which is dark, but he doesn't have any skin.
Right.
So, all right.
It's just like stuff like that. It's like, wait, why wouldn't
Can,
he do this? Like, there's not
can
like
we
a
can we talk about his plan, by the way? Can
yes.
we talk about
Go
how
for it.
can we talk about how Darkman basically, okay, so he scans fat Bruce Willis. He, which I don't know his name.
No,
I'm
I
gonna be
don't
honest,
either.
don't know his name. Um, so he scans fat Bruce Willis. He dresses up as him and grabs some money and buys plane tickets. Not with that money, by the way. He planted it earlier. Buys plane tickets for him and another guy, and then waits for Durant to come into the hotel and kill Fat Bruce Willis. And all the while, he's just sitting there, what, waiting for the bus? He knows how much time he has left on the
Oh
mask.
yeah.
Not only that, but why not just kill Fat Bruce Willis? You don't need the money, clearly. You're if you're trying to send a signal, you're not sending a signal. You're just killing a random henchman. They're not going to know it's you. I don't understand his plans at all. They don't make
It
sense,
does. There's
Mikiah.
when you
They don't make sense.
logically
When
there's
you think about it, yes, I'm sorry. When you have your brain turned on and think about it, they don't make sense.
the logical
That's
flow of things in this movie is just not there. So it's more so, like I said, on a pure just like I'm enjoying what I am seeing, which is all presented in the most it's the most glorious fashion that I just absolutely love. If you are a fan of Raimi's Spider-Man movies, there are so many things in this movie that he pulls directly into his Spider-Man movies in terms of
I
shot
agree,
choices,
but I
locations.
it's funny. I don't like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man because of the shot choices and because of the visuals.
Like,
I
do you
like
like
it
any of
because
them?
I like the characters. I like the writing. I like the general linear flow from one movie to the next. I don't I don't like Raimi movies because of just the shot choices. If I were looking for that, I don't know. I would look for photographers to be directors.
Or
Like
like music
Eternal Sunshine
video?
of the Spotless Mind. Exactly. Eternal
Yeah.
Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Michelle, I can't remember his last name, but he is a music video director first. And that's the reason why Charlie Kaufman basically took over. He was writing the movie, and the director was writing it through visuals, and that's it. The characters of Eternal Sunshine were doing their thing by improvising and taking Charlie Kaufman's script and doing something with it. That's what I like about like visual writing per se, air quotes, is that movie because of the fact that it's writing and directing and acting all put together in one.
Yeah, I think
If that
that
makes
I,
sense.
I think that Raimi does focus on style over logic. And he has, I think, a really great graphic style. We've talked about Ang Lee's Hulk movie a number of times as a bad example. We both think of a graphic style.
People didn't think about it then, but man, does it not age well.
Yeah. Or
This movie ages better than that. I will agree with that, but man, is it for the time.
oh, it's very much of the time, but like it's just I really love the graphic sensibility in there, and it's not always in a logical way. Because I think about in his Spider-Man movies, every single time in like Spider-Man 2 that it goes to like Harry's penthouse,
Yeah.
it is dark out and there is lightning. It doesn't matter that it's not raining in the scene. It doesn't matter that if the previous scene
Well,
was
there can be heat
daytime.
lightning.
I know, but it was every single time. It was dark out and lightning. It's just fitting like a tone and an atmosphere that is a very
Well,
graphic
having an
like
ominous atmosphere pushes the writing only so far. If the dialogue is crap, if the story itself is crap, if the characters don't make any sense, then all it is just pretty lights to me.
right. I feel like okay, so there's two sides I think to Raimi. And there's the big campy side, which is embodied, I think, most in his Evil Dead movies. And then
Yes,
there's
but Evil Dead 2 does it better. It does the campiness better and it does the writing better. So
it's
I
more
don't know how to explain
contained.
this one.
It's more contained in that one. I mean, this once again, this
Which
one
I'm gonna
has.
be honest, contained movies Sam Raimi does better.
I think that this one paints in more broad strokes, and I really just when I'm watching this movie, like I said, I just have a stupid grin on my face the whole time watching it, and like you get. We talked about in Untouchables a little bit, some of like De Palma bringing in a little bit of pulp to his movies, and
Yeah.
Raimi definitely does that too, and that's something that you didn't like in Untouchables when he
Well,
went a little
well,
pulpier, and that's something that I
okay,
love.
but I qualified that with the historical accuracy bit. The reason I wouldn't mind the pulp in Untouchables if it was a different subject, or if it was just an original thing, or if it was a little bit the tone shifting was a little bit better, because it tonally shifted a few times that I didn't like. But regardless, when it comes to this movie, it's just camp for camp's sake. It's essentially what Sam Raimi did was make a Sam Raimi movie 100% of the time, all the time. It's a bit like J.J. Abrams having a lens flare in 100% of the frames of his movie. Or take the Kentucky Derby and give it to Zack Snyder and say, slow this down so much that a 1 minute 30-second race is 3 hours long. It's him leaning into his director sensibilities a little bit too much for me.
Yeah, no, I get that. Like,
So much so that I would. All right, if Tommy Wiseau came out and said that The Room, he meant it to be satirical of romantic comedies. It's all of it was meant to be as bad as it was. When it comes to like a director's vision, would you say that it was a better movie then?
um, if you're asking me if Tommy
Yeah.
Wiseau said
So
the whole
if
thing was a
the
satire,
room
would the room be
recognized as
better?
a yes, The Room is recognized as a bad
No,
movie.
it wouldn't be
If it
better.
came out, it wouldn't be better.
No, if he said
So
that.
if any other director had directed this movie and it come out, I've obviously there's no director like Sam Raimi when it comes to this kind of movie. But imagine any other director came out with this exact movie. Would it be as well loved?
Yes. By
Oh,
me?
I disagree
Okay,
completely.
by
But no,
me?
no, no. But
If this
by
exact
by you,
movie
I
came
could see
out from
that
another director and I watched
from
it,
anyone,
oh, I would love
just
it
like
just
any
as much.
director.
Yeah, like I just this
Okay,
it has the
but this movie would
sensibilities here.
absolutely not. This movie would absolutely not be loved by everyone else just because it's like this movie.
Oh, I mean, I
I think
sought it out
people.
because
I
Sam
think
Raimi
people.
directed it. Yeah, and I love Sam
Right,
Raimi's style.
but I think people like this movie because they like Sam Raimi, not because this movie's good.
But I think this movie taps into why people like Sam Raimi. So, like, if you like Sam
Not more
Raimi,
so than Evil Dead or like
I'm
Spider-Man
not
2.
saying more so. I do agree, honestly, that Evil Dead 2 and his Spider Man movies are better than this one. I'm not saying that this is even my favorite of his, but I feel like this movie represents the center point. If you took all of my taste in film and put an exact center point, I feel like this movie is it. You know, I just, I really just kind of vibe with it more than basically any other movie that we've watched for this show. This one's like my essence, I feel like, brought out. And like, I don't know, I just really like the campiness of it. But like, and the writing is also over the top and campy, and it doesn't really matter to me what the story is in this movie because it's just kind of all facilitating that. Like early on, you get like the first scene in the movie is you get like this gang meeting in a big warehouse, and then you get the other people showing up, and they're like basically holding them up, and then that you get the guy. There's like a guy with nunchucks and like other stuff, and they have him all like disarm.
Well,
And
there's
then
an Uzi in a guy's
yeah, I
leg,
was about to
and
say
when they take off his leg, he's hopping around as if he can't balance on one foot.
right. He's
I'm
hop
sorry, but people can balance on one foot.
right, but
I do like the shot of him hopping in the background after the action's done, and the guy sticking his arm out that way he can balance on it.
oh
That I do like. That is comedy. That is something that is a joke that lands because there is a setup and there is a payoff
right, but
when it comes to the joke.
there's
But
also
it's few and far between.
like it's obviously
It's
ridiculous though. He's got a fake leg. He comments on it. He's like, "You got a bum
There are
leg." He's
cars
like,
that come out of crates as if they were waiting for
"Oh
that
my
to
gosh,
happen.
yes, it's so good." And you get also like,
You and I have very different like
but it's
definitions for
so
the word
but
good.
it's incredible then later in the movie when they are at the science lab, and they're gonna blow it up and everything. When you see that
Which they can have guns.
no,
Why is he still using the man's leg?
exactly
Give
though.
him back his
No,
leg.
because you see the shot and it's going around. Everybody has guns that they clearly just brought because they didn't have to not have guns in this scene. And you still
Yeah.
get the one guy, his name's Smiley, the long-haired guy, holding up the one-legged guy's leg as his gun. It's like he forgot his own gun or something. I don't know why he's holding the other guy's leg as a gun again in
Well, it
that
is an
scene.
Uzi. It's a little bit more
It,
powerful than
it
some
doesn't
other
make any
guns, so I
sense,
can
and the guy's
understand
just standing there hopping again, and it's so funny. Just that's it's so funny. I just love that stuff
that.
so
I
much.
I I do actually agree. I think like the opening scene and the lab scene are probably my favorite scenes, if only because of how absurd they are. And I
Yeah.
wasn't like, oh, this is just going to be the whole movie,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Your introduction to Durant in that opening scene is like after they get the upper hand on the other gang, he's got the other gang leader's fingers and he's chopping them off with his cigar cutter. And he's like, I've got
My third point,
my
I've got
third,
7 more points.
he goes,
Yeah.
point one is whatever, whatever. And then by the third point, yeah, my third point, I've got 7 more points. He's already cut off 3 of his fingers. It's so
Yep.
like it's like stuff like that I just love. And this I feel like is the perfect in between. So apparently Raimi was in the running to do Batman back in the 1989
That
Batman.
makes so much
It
sense.
does. And but
This feels a little bit like of course it has Danny Elfman, so that doesn't help, but
yeah.
it doesn't feel exactly like Batman. There are some shots like Darkman standing
On the
on like the
gargoyles.
on the yeah, on the gargoyles, which man, bad green screen there, but definitely like a Batman-esque shot.
Right.
But it just feels like Sam Raimi, he's got his directorial sensibilities, but it feels a little bit like he was trying to be Tim Burton here
Well,
in some
I
ways.
mean, I don't think that's what he was doing at all. I do think he wanted to
I
direct it.
don't think he meant to do it.
I
I
think,
think
I
it
mean,
feels
okay,
like it.
he's obviously very passionate about comic book movies. He really wanted to direct Batman, obviously, but they gave it to Burton. And
If only they had given him Batman Forever and Batman and Robin instead of Joel
yeah.
Schumacher.
And then he got the Spider-Man job because of his passion that he had when he was basically selling himself to the studio. They picked him because of the passion that he had for it. Is the reason that he got that job. And I guess, Darkman, as much as I said Darkman was a okay hit for the time, I'm also not going to say that Darkman's the reason that he
You know,
got
no,
Spider-Man.
tripling your budget with a rated R movie in 1990 is a success. I would say that.
Yeah, yeah, having movies like Darkman, like the Evil Dead movies, and like Quick and the Dead, and a few other ones like Simple Plan, which is great, came out in the late
The
'90s.
only movies I know from that movie, oddly enough, Troll 2 came out
Oh yeah,
that year. But I know TMNT came out that year, and man, I haven't seen that movie in a while, but the budget is similar. I think
yeah,
I think this movie was like 700,000 more, but um, the effects kind of similar. I think that's just of the time though.
yeah. I've not seen the
But
original
man,
TMNT movie, but
don't watch it.
yeah, I'll watch it at some point. But
Please don't.
I will. I will. You can't
No,
stop me.
because then you're gonna want me to go over it, and trust me, I'm not gonna be a happy boy.
Okay. Yeah, but I think those movies that he did leading up to that point aren't the reason that they hired him for Spider-Man. I think that those movies got him into the room where he could sell himself to get Spider-Man, because like none of them, he hasn't had like a massive hit. He had a number of cult hits and stuff like that, and some things that were financially successful. So I think, and you know, some stuff with even some critical acclaim to it. This was pretty well received when it came out, actually, for the type of movie it was. It was well liked. But when you step back and you think about the plot points and you think about the logical stuff in it, it doesn't hold up to scrutiny in that kind of capacity. But when you're watching it, though, I'm like, who cares?
I don't want Sam Raimi fans, because they are a virile bunch, to like come after us or me specifically for this, because I like plenty of his movies. But and I even watched Evil Dead 2 after this, because I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. I'm gonna watch something else I haven't seen from him. But
Yeah.
it's just it just feels so out of place to me, um, compared to even contemporary movies of the time that I've seen. It just feels so weird, but not necessarily in a bad way, not definitely not in a good way. It
Yeah.
just feels so
I
weird.
mean, I love that this is a universal movie because I feel like this is a really good center point between what would come later with like comic
Aren't they
book
making a
movies.
remake?
A remake of what? The
Darkman.
No, I don't know, but I didn't think so.
I think they've gone on and off announcing it, but I think in 2022 they
Yeah.
said that they were going to reboot it,
Well,
which, given Universal and all the big industry track records for remakes and reboots, yeah, I'm gonna say it's not gonna be that good.
we'll see. Well, either way, like I really think that it fits in pretty well with those classic
Oh
horror
no.
movies of, of the universal horror, but brought into this more action-oriented superhero movie at the same time. Like I'm
I do
glad.
think it's innovative.
Yeah.
And innovative doesn't necessarily mean a good or a bad thing. People
No.
people give it a positive connotation quite a bit, but innovative just means that it's new for the time,
Right.
or it's ahead of its time. I do agree with that, um, but I don't know. Yep, Darkman 4. Universal and Sam Raimi have started talks about a sequel. That's a year old though, so I have
Yeah,
no idea
started
if.
talks means nothing. Started
So, yeah,
talks.
started
Yeah.
talks means Universal's like, well, we're out of ideas, literally, because we've run our franchises into the ground a little bit too much.
Yeah. I wonder if
So
it's
now
like
we have
a
to go back to an
I
original.
wonder if they have to consult with Sam Raimi since it was his creation to make it.
Well, if he owns the
I
if
don't know if
he
he
owns the
owns.
rights to it,
Yeah.
regard. Well, he didn't direct the two straight to DVD sequels.
No.
Although I guess if Sam Raimi had owned the rights to that, he could have given them permission, whether or not
Right.
he was attached to the project. But if he owns the rights, then they do. If he doesn't, then they don't.
Right.
So
Obviously.
maybe they're just grabbing him because they figure it'll be a success if they grab him for the film.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know
okay.
who owns the rights for it though.
Another thing that's I like in this movie. So obviously, okay, you have Frances McDormand, who's his love interest in the movie, and he after he blows up and his skin gets all scarred, she thinks he's dead because everybody does. There's a funeral and everything,
Yeah,
and
apparently they found just parts of an ear.
yeah, and so he ends up in the hospital, and it kind of feels like the beginning of the hospital scene in Spider-Man 2, although it doesn't go like to
Why
that
do
horror
they
level.
put him on something that spins him?
I don't know. I don't know. But basically, they established that he can't
Those
feel
seem like
any.
terrible
Yeah,
doctors.
they severed his nerves, so he can't feel anything because otherwise he'd be in horrible pain his whole life. Yeah, they seemed like awful, like unethical doctors for sure, based on everything that they were saying. She literally says he can't feel anything and then pokes him with
We're,
a needle.
we're going to cut off his nervous system from the rest of his body so he can't feel. Therefore, he'll turn into the Hulk.
Right. Well, and so they
Is
they
is
said,
what I got from
yeah,
that.
he'll have there might be increased like rage and strength and stuff to make up for the lack of feeling, I guess, was their
Which,
justification.
man, those doctors suck.
What they do. And then I think it felt like it was broad daylight, and then by the end of that scene it was a thunderstorm when he breaks out and he's like in the alleyway. And there's a shot where he's like there's like a box, it's just zooming in on a box in the street and the box flips over and it's just like
And
he's
it's just
in
him in the
just like
fetal
a
position.
river
Yeah.
of water. But then he discovers that he looks
No,
down
this
the
was
drain.
Gotham City.
Basically he looks down the
Oh.
drain and he finds like he goes underground, basically finds this like abandoned place that he can set up a new makeshift lab. And then once he does that, he can start developing his own skin again. so that he can make his own skin and pretend to be himself around her.
Which it took him to the end of a montage to realize they took his hands when after he had been working on the project for a while.
Right.
Did you notice that?
I did, but it's honestly though that scene it's pretty sad. Like I feel like it takes the sincere side of Raimi and kind of like lets that actually play out a little bit. Where Hannah, I was watching this with Hannah, and she was like she almost started crying in that moment because it is really sad. Like he's just like mourning the loss of his whole life in that moment, and I think that Liam Neeson has a really interesting
Pour one out for
performance.
Yakatito.
Yeah.
Made it a total of 2 minutes screen time.
Oh yeah.
Poor guy.
Liam Neeson has a really interesting performance in this movie because at the
I
beginning he's pretty normal.
interesting, I will say.
Yes, at the beginning.
I'm not going to speak. I'm not going to speak on. I'm not going to speak on Liam Neeson as an actor because he's a very good actor. Schindler's List a couple of years after, he absolutely deserved his Oscar nomination. But man, in this movie, is it rough?
Well, because okay, so
Oh,
he's pretty normal like Liam
you can only
Neeson.
do so much with chatterbox teeth and terrible mask, but man,
But okay, but it's
the voiceover is
there's a
bad.
distinction though between when he was just himself and then even when he's just wearing his own skin and just looking like Liam Neeson later, he acts a little bit more manic, and he's got like this crazy voice. He's kind of talking in the whole time, and he's like,
Yeah,
"Take the elephant."
no, he's basically playing Harrison Ford in that moment.
It's just really funny though because he's trying to winner an elephant at the carnival, but he's
You know
only
what?
has
Take
like
the
he
fucking
only
elephant
has
is take the fucking elephant
yeah.
is a good quote. I will give you that.
Yeah, and he like it's got that really bizarre kind of cut where he's like got rage going on and it's just like has like these like crazy like effects and the screen's tearing and stuff.
It's basically when when Beatrix Kiddo from Kill Bill sees one of one of her arch nemesis, but like a little bit weirder.
Right. Yeah, and you get
It
like
plays the whole bam bam bam
yeah,
bam.
and it puts he has
Ba,
like a
ba, na, ba, ba, ba.
he has like a clown hat on and the points and his head's just floating. He's
Yeah,
got a
that
clown hat on.
that is weird.
Yeah, there's weird stuff in this movie, like when he like has like
No,
the
no,
Tin Man.
this
He's like,
movie is pure weird.
it's
This,
bizarre.
yeah.
Yeah, it has a lot of strangeness in it for sure. And and you get like the classic Spider-Man stuff too when he's like designing his suit and everything, and like at his lab trying to figure stuff out, and you get like just individual elements just like floating
I
across the
literally wrote
screen.
down the power of the skin in the palm of my nose at for the first little bit. I was like, okay, cool, Doc Ock, but skin,
Yeah.
interesting.
So yeah, and so it's a weird movie. It's a weird movie for sure. He's got a little Quasimodo, little Phantom of the Opera kind of going on with this
Yeah,
whole
like Phantom of the Opera plus Wolfman plus Invisible Man plus Batman.
plus Quasimodo.
If you mixed all that together and had Sam Raimi write and direct this, which
Which I don't
how
know
many
about you, but what you
how many
just described sounds absolutely incredible to me and kind of does perfectly define why I love this movie and why you
and
maybe
you would
didn't.
think I would love it, but man, did I not love this
Well,
movie.
and then it really plays up the whole I like the whole him putting on other people's skin is such a unique kind of twist on like a
But when
hero
you do it with
character.
such a horrible plan, though,
Oh, the planning is not
that
great.
doesn't make any
Like
sense.
there's a point where he's like about to go in.
He puts on Durant's skin so that he
Yeah.
can hold up a gas station, look at the camera, and say, "My name is Durant, Robert Durant." It's
Robert G.
and then
Durant.
nothing happens to him from that. He gets arrested and then immediately gets set free.
Right, but then he's trying
Wha-
to go into that Chinese place that he's getting the money from
to
to
do what?
I don't mess up their operations. I don't know, but fund his own
Because that's the
experiments.
best way to. Because
But
that's the best way to do that.
he looks at his watch before he goes in. And he's at like 90 minutes. He has 9 minutes before he goes
Yeah,
into the place.
so let me get this straight. So he synthesized the skin for Durant. He robs a convenience store. He somehow finds a way to get a ride from the henchmen, go over to the place where like a deal is happening, and does all that in the span of 99 minutes.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I don't know. I feel like the convenience store was a separate instance. He probably had multiple sets of skin for him to use.
But then immediately afterwards
either way, he's not using his time the best way he
Sure,
could.
the show of time is not there though when it comes to the movie because it's daytime, it's daytime, it's daytime, it's daytime the whole time, and it's just the convenience store. Then it goes immediately to it's like a shot to shot Robert Durant, and then yes, my name is Robert Durant, and then he gets handcuffed.
Right.
So I don't know how much time happens between that, but how does it take 90 minutes for him to put on skin, find henchmen, and then go to Chinatown, which I guess it was. It was like a
Yeah, something
of
like
the
that.
same city.
Yeah.
Ugh.
No,
His plan is stupid.
his plan is stupid. I completely agree. It's a dumb plan, and when he sees he only has 9 minutes left, it's like, okay, you have enough time to escape, is what I think in that moment. Not like you have enough time to go through with the most crucial part of this plan.
Yeah.
But yeah,
If his point was revenge, he would just have revenge. He wouldn't do all of this just to like wound their finances.
yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
But so you get him.
Yep, continue.
So eventually, Francis McDormand kind of starts dating Strack, the CEO, and that's
I
kind of
didn't get that at all.
like, well, because they started dancing at the thing, and then they're like, I have been seeing somebody when he asks her later after he reveals himself. And so yeah, there's a
That feels like the most awkward relationship.
that was weird because
I don't get that at all.
it's weird because it starts off with her like questioning him about his unethical business practices, and
I
then,
didn't get even a little bit that she had feelings for him.
no, and then they start dating
So-
like off screen. And then that implies
with
that
with
she went
and
there to.
all right.
Yeah.
So they start dating off screen, and the only mention is there was someone.
There was someone, and then she goes to him, and she to basically break off, like tell her that Westlake is back and that he didn't actually die, which then tells him, oh, which eventually gets.
Is this the scene where literally the paper is on his desk?
Yes,
that
so
she
the
finds?
paper's on his desk with the coffee stain.
So he wanted her to see it, right? Because
I don't know, like yeah, I think so.
Didn't they have an appointment? Why would you have the paper that you need
I think
her
he
not
wanted
to see
her to
on
see
his
it.
desk?
And then
So that he could open up the blinds and be like, by the way, as you were walking down the street, you didn't see this, and then unveils
Yeah.
5 built that this whole movie was about 5 buildings. But by the way, they built them quick.
oh yeah, absolutely, they were like crushing that.
And the green screen was
construction.
terrible there. I don't know if you noticed.
Yeah, I did.
When Durant comes back in, and also if you go back and watch it. When you focus on just the cranes, they're spinning.
Yeah.
They're just spinning 360 degrees the whole time. They're not stopping. Like there's things attached to the cranes, but they're not stopping. They're just spinning for about 35 seconds.
Well, yeah.
Which, man,
After realizing Westlake is alive, he sends basically Durant's guys to follow her because he assumes that she knows where he is, and he's exactly right about that. So then they encounter him at his secret lair to try to kill him again. So you get rid of that loose end, I guess.
Can we talk about the line, I've got good news and bad news? Bad news is Westlake is still alive. Good news is your wife is dead.
Oh, yeah. I'm just kidding, he says. Yeah, it's a weird line, but I don't know.
Man, the 90s really thought all corporation men were like frat boys in their 20s.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that might be true.
Still do today.
Yeah. But yeah, so
They're
get
much
them.
more manipulative. They're not.
Yeah.
They're not like yacht boys all the time.
Yeah. Well, you get them infiltrating raiding his place, which kind of makes me feel like part of the ending of RoboCop is a little bit
So
similar.
Julie led them right.
Yeah, she
straight
leads
to
them
him,
right
so-
to him. And so then they're all shooting him up. There's lots of great explosions in the last parts of this movie. Like really great movie explosions. I'm like, that's where they put their budget right there. And
Honestly, yeah, it feels like 10 million of the dollars went to
Yeah.
like the explosion of that building.
Yeah.
Because you can see the shockwave and everything.
yeah, and then you get in that scene you have
yep.
the one guy
No.
and he takes out the one guy and then he puts a mask on him.
But he
puts
he puts 2 masks
He
on
puts
him.
2. There's a
He
double.
puts 2 masks
No,
on
I
him.
know it's a double
all right,
mask
sorry,
reveal.
that's not what I want to talk about. But can we talk about he walks up to the blonde-haired guy. I'm gonna call him Fabio because I don't know his name.
His name's Smiley.
He walks up. All right, sure. He walks up to Fabio, and he he is wearing Fabio as a mask
Yes.
to walk up to Fabio.
Yes. After the double mask
All right,
reveal
all
of
right,
the guy, because he has his own face on
cool.
him, and then he has a different face on
Yeah,
him.
he has his. So he has his own face. Then he has his face, and then he has like the real his actual face on.
Right.
So
It's a double mask face reveal. And I will
yeah,
say this is this is a few years before Face Off came out in 97, and it's before Mission Impossible came out in 95.
I'm gonna tell my
So,
kids this was the real face off.
so this is the real Face Off, and Mission Impossible, I don't know if it was in the original series or not, but the face mask stuff is a big part of those
I have no
movies.
doubt it is, but I mean, this made it all the way to Winter Soldier had Black Widow doing the same thing.
Yeah,
So I think
yeah.
it's just
Face
a
yeah,
thing that
using
people
other
did back
people's
then.
faces is
Using
great.
other, yeah,
Yeah, I love it.
yep. It wasn't just Arya Stark. It was literally everyone before
Yeah.
this.
Which this all leads into an insane like helicopter highway
Shoot, I should have
chase.
made the joke. I'm gonna tell my kids this was the real Game of Thrones.
um yeah, so because there's like the hook on the helicopter, and he's like dangling from it as the helicopter is flying around, and they're trying to shoot him off of it and everything.
When it comes to action sequences, I like the helicopter chase.
The whole chase is great. Like I said, top notch movie explosions. They're real explosions and everything, and
Yeah.
it's all really well done on that whole chase.
The only thing I don't like, and this is a Sam Raimi like specialty, is like sped up footage, close to the ground.
That's the
Like
cranked footage.
and you could,
Yeah.
yeah, the cranked footage, like, and you can see it when Darkman, like, this is way earlier, but the first henchman that he kills, he flings up from the manhole cover, and it's just like very quick shots of like sped up cars like,
Right.
dodging and
Yeah.
weaving. It's kind of that thing. I don't really like that kind of
Which
shot.
that guy,
But sure.
that henchman's name is Ricky, and that's played by Ted Raimi, Sam Raimi's brother.
That's a very Raimi thing to do.
Yes, Ted Raimi's
Which
appears in most of
the opposite
Sam's
helicopter dude, the black guy in the helicopter barking out commands, that was Bruce Campbell's voice.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Interesting. Which Bruce Campbell then does show up at the end of the movie,
Yep, he's the last face.
the last phase.
That should be the next Darkman, the last face.
Honestly, though, that's a lot better. Like that's for like the final Darkman.
Then
movie.
die Darkman die. I agree. Yeah, that's an easy one for me.
I mean, the sequel naming definitely leans into like the campy quality.
Return of Durant and die Darkman die.
But
It's very die hard.
I'll probably watch them at some point, but I'm not rushing to do it.
That makes one of us.
But and then after that, so you get that once again before Mission Impossible, you get him like attaching a hook from a helicopter onto a fast-moving vehicle going under a bridge, and the helicopter just
I haven't
blows
seen Mission
up.
Impossibles, so I only know that from this movie.
In the
so,
first
yeah.
Mission Impossible, that happens.
Suck it, Mission Impossible.
Yeah, this one it just hits the top of it and blows up. And Mission Impossible, it actually ends up in the tunnel. But so yeah, that's the end of Durant there, and then he pretends to be Durant and goes back to Strack, and then Strack like captures him.
Yeah,
and
brings
takes him
them
up.
brings them up to a high rise, which the whole thing was like, I'm gonna do my evil speech now. By the way, my father used to bring me up here. I'm a master of steel and high rises,
Right.
and it was not brought up at all.
It's like the most character development he got in the whole movie was him telling
Absolutely,
this.
yeah.
Like just me and the Indians up here. Nobody else was crazy enough.
I'm sorry. I assumed when Durant died, I was like, oh, cool, it's the end of the movie. I looked at how much time was left and like 35 minutes. What happens then? Because Strack has 2.5 scenes, and they make him the final bad guy. All right, sure.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he was the one pulling the strings the whole time, and then they put him in an environment where somehow he has an advantage. Which, otherwise, he would
Okay,
not have
somehow he has an advantage. You're right about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you get like
he's
there's some incredible
he's not
stuff.
working on the high rises. Why would he know?
Yeah.
Like,
We've mentioned some
get
bad.
around.
We've mentioned some bad green screen stuff though, and this scene's actually, I think, pretty convincing. Like overall, like
it's
them
because
being
it's
on the high
dark,
rise.
dude.
Partly,
it's because
yeah.
it's dark.
But
It's the same thing that Pitch Black has going for it. In the day scenes, the special effects are pretty bad. And the night scenes, the special effects are a lot better. Lighting does that, which this movie could have This movie's special effects would have been 100% better if it had all like been done at night.
I don't know. I mean, there's some really actually incredible makeup effects done, especially for Darkman himself. And whenever you see, you get a
I'm
little
not
bit.
talking about makeup effects necessarily. I'm talking about like the special effects, like everything but the helicopter scene would have been infinitely done better. Like the first I talked about like the sped up footage from the thing, but the effects of the what was his name? Rick dying via manhole cover and truck, that looked a lot better than most of the effects during the daytime. So,
Yeah, I mean, I really
and it's
respect
called
that.
Darkman.
I know. Yeah, I really respect that Raimi always does have like daytime action scenes, and those are usually a highlight. And then here, I do still enjoy that aspect of it. But I have to agree that
I
once
don't think
again,
that helps the movie
it
though.
doesn't make very much sense for it to all be taking place during the day for the
I'm
most part.
so whenever I talk about a director's the reason a director does something, it's for the movie at the time. It doesn't help the movie now. I think it hurts the movie because of how dated it is now. That's my
Sure,
that's my proof of the matter. It
sure.
would have looked a lot better when it was all dark, and it's called Dark Man, and the plot point of the skin being able to hold itself while being in the dark makes a lot more sense. That's when you set things up to pay them off eventually,
Yeah.
and they don't do that at all.
No, they don't.
The whole skin synthesis thing, it's literally you could buy a Halloween mask and have him wear it. That's like a Halloween mask of Durant, and that's essentially what it is.
Right, except it
There's
actually looks convincing and good.
Well, that's true, but he could just be a molder or like someone whose job it is to make Halloween masks. He could just be good at that, and it wouldn't change a thing in the movie.
I don't know. I feel like that goes back into like the very comic booky kind of aspect of it, though, with this new scientific technology. I mean, I think it makes sense and makes gives some unique angle to the character. I don't know if I would have actually bought it
But it
if he
doesn't
was
do
just a
very much with
molder.
it.
I think it does a lot with it, but it doesn't use it in a way that is logical by with the whole photosensitivity angle. But once again, that's just like how much does that matter to you? And to me, it doesn't matter a lot. I think it's kind of the silliness of it enhances my enjoyment of the movie overall, although I do recognize it doesn't make the movie better. But there's some stuff like in the finale though too, just with stylistic choices and whatnot. Like you get Strack or yeah, Strack, he gets the rivet gun and he's shooting at him with the rivet gun. And you get a couple of point of view shots from the point of view of the rivets flying
Yeah.
towards Darkman and the ones that are missing him. And then he gets shot in the hand with it. And then he ends up getting the upper hand in this scene, no pun intended, by ripping his hand out off through the rivet and punching him in the face, just like
Which
some.
he doesn't feel anything. That makes sense. He's
Right,
just
right. He
like
has no
Ajax
pain.
from Deadpool. He's good.
Right,
He's got no sensation.
right. You just, yeah, you get some. Oh, it's so good. I just love that stuff so
Wish they
much.
had gone more into that,
Yeah,
like the whole no pain thing. They could have.
yeah. Once again, I'm not saying this movie, like I've said the whole time,
This
really.
does feel like it's got like that origin movie. I don't know what word to use, but it's like for Batman Begins. It's like for not necessarily the first Iron Man, but maybe the first Spider-Man, where they can't really go deep into the character because they have to
Yeah,
set him up, and they don't really set him up that much in this movie.
yeah. Like he has
They
the person that he loves and he wants to be with her, but he's horrible. But like he's disturbed by the
He's
way he
angry that
looks.
he lost his hands for a total of 5 seconds. Then he's just going on adventures, like very vengeful, fueled, weird things that he's doing,
Yeah,
and then he gives up the thing that he loves the most for
I mean,
reasons.
I think the more familiarity you have with some of those like classic monster movies, and the more like fondness you have for that style of movie, the more you're gonna like this because it does kind of tap into that. Like I said, Phantom of the Opera or Hunchback of Notre
Yeah,
Dame
this
kind of
movie does do
like
better
stuff.
the whole. So the thing about Deadpool and Deadpool 2, in Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds, well, Deadpool is not ugly. He's just Ryan Reynolds with like no hair and a little bit of blisters. In this movie, he's ghoulish.
Oh,
So
he's really
they
gross
they
looking.
do they do that a lot better
Yes.
because in Deadpool it's like Oh, I'm so scared of what she'll think of me, dude. You just look like Ryan Reynolds.
You're wrinkly and
Yeah,
bald.
you're wrinkly Ryan. You're Ryan Reynolds in 40 years.
Yeah,
Sorry,
he's just a
but
raisiny
yeah,
Ryan
in
Reynolds.
this movie I can see it, but I still don't understand why he gives her up purely because like what he's ugly because he's got the skin synthesis thing
He
that he
hasn't
can
figured it
work on,
out though, and he's pretty horrific looking. I'm not gonna lie.
but he's literally has the tools to for every 12 hours of the day be perfectly fine. That's
Yeah.
more than most monsters.
Well, that maybe that would have been something if, like, let's just say hypothetically there was a sequel to this that Raimi had made rather than just like the straight to DVD nonsense. Maybe that's something that they could have explored more
But
there. But
okay, but they do bring back the characters though. This is all hindsight, of course, yes,
yeah,
but
I like I said, I have no context for those movies though. But I
yeah, I
do
haven't
think
seen them
that's
either.
something that could have gotten explored, and this does have a lot of like origin movie kind of things in it. So I understand what you're saying, and I agree with that.
Yeah, it's that typical like origin movies are typically not the best movies in the franchise because they have to set so many things up.
Yeah, they have to follow
Although
a
I will
certain
agree, it doesn't
structure.
set up a lot of things in this movie, so maybe it benefits from it. I don't know. I would have to watch the second and third movie.
I mean,
Although
it's a
given
90. Yeah.
straight to DVD, the track record for straight to DVD movies are pretty
No,
not good.
I imagine they're
So
pretty bad, but it's a 90-minute movie. It's not long, so it's like you get the trade-off there with it being the kind of stylistic campy movie that it is. Would you want to have more time in there to get more character development, or would you I kind of like it the way it is, just not needing as much character development and just kind of like I said having a goofy grin on my face the whole
for
time.
me, I'm always of the mind if the movie can entertain and hook you, but also give you like things that your brain likes. Like if this movie gave you 30 minutes of what you enjoy, you would absolutely not care that it's an hour long or 2 hours long.
Oh, no, for
I
sure.
guarantee that. You're phrasing it kind of that character development, like 30 minutes of extra character development, is not going to be enjoyable. But I think 30 minutes of character development done well and in an entertaining fashion can be enjoyable.
So, do you think that this movie deserves its status as a camp classic, or do you think?
The whole deserves thing I don't like. When it comes to deserving, I can only look to awards and that kind of thing. What people enjoy and what people like, I can't speak to that. Is it good? I don't think so, but I'm not going to stop people from enjoying it. I would never tell somebody you can't enjoy The Room just because it's bad.
Right. If somebody legitimately was like, I think The Room is actually the best movie I've ever seen, it's really
I
great.
would absolutely stop them in their tracks, probably punch them in the face. I would never
I
do that.
would tell them
I
that,
would
yeah, I would tell them I
They
disagree
are
with them.
absolutely wrong.
Well, I would tell them I disagree with them, but all respect to them. I don't
Mm.
care what, if you like it, that's great, you know?
They get
Like,
to live for now, but
yeah.
man,
You saying this isn't good, I'm like, I figured that you wouldn't like it.
well, no. You're going to a superlative there. So if you say this movie is good, I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to argue with you, but I'm not going to stop you from holding your opinion.
Right.
If you say this movie is the best movie ever, I got to stop you right there, and we've got to talk about that.
It's one of my favorites, but I'm not going to tell you it's one of the best movies ever.
Favorites doesn't mean best movie ever.
Yeah. There's a big difference between favorite and best.
There's a huge difference between what is the best or what is the greatest movie of all time and what is your favorite movie
Yeah,
of
and
all
like I
time.
said before, unlike The Room or Troll 2 or other like movies that are so bad they're good, I genuinely think
I
that
bring those up because they are not the worst movies of all time. The Room is not the worst movie of all time.
oh yeah, I mean the worst movie of all
So
time nobody's seen because it's probably like only 3
yeah,
people have seen it.
if you oddly enough, our most subjective thing is impact, but if you take into account impact on some of the worst movies ever made, yeah, I think there are some. The reason I don't think this is good is because it feels like it's written by a 9-year-old.
Yeah, I really enjoy the craft of the movie though. Like the sensibilities and the craft of the movie, I really think do elevate it to something that I think is quality. But I understand
I
that,
agree with some of that.
yeah.
And I would say I would have liked this movie more if the writing was done better.
Great. Well, do you want to
It's
get into
not
scoring?
just the visual. Yeah, it's not just the visuals is the reason I don't like it. It's everything altogether, and the fact that I was disappointed that Sam Raimi's very good tendencies weren't brought up by a good story.
All right. Well, then let's
That's
get
why.
into the scoring then.
Yep.
All right. For me, writing for me is a 1, but I know you're going to argue for a pretty strong
Oh,
0
absolutely not.
cuz I enjoy a lot of the lines and everything, and but I get what you're saying, so I will acquiesce to your zero.
There are some good dialogue. I agree, but most of the dialogue is garbage. The plot doesn't make any sense at most points. It detracts from the characters, and yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
Writing is the thing I feel most strongly about
yeah, I know.
for the
So
for
I'll
when it comes to
acquiesce to
this
your
movie.
zero. World building. I'll give world building a one because I think the ideas are really interesting and I like the context of the city and everything. However, it's not great. Like, I'm not going to say it's great.
Expound, because when it comes to the world building, all I can think of is Strack's whole plan, like for literally world building, is basically two lines of dialogue,
Yeah, but
that
it's,
kind of thing,
I
and
guess
just
I like I like the whole concept around the
I like the visual setup for the world.
I
I'll
like the
agree with that.
visual setup and I like the whole concept around the, the gang control with the corporate setup, and I like the skin replacement stuff with the science angle to it. It's very graphic oriented stylistically, but I think it works well enough in the movie. I think it's good. I don't think it's great. I'm not going to say it's great. I'm not going to argue for a 2 here, but I think it is good. I would give it a
I'll
1.
actually agree with the one, because like I said, the visual setup for most of the things, it doesn't go into in any detail. Visuals can only do so much, but yeah, yeah, I'd say it definitely feels like a world.
Yeah.
So yeah, a one.
Um, Characters. I know that you're gonna say zero on characters. However, okay, I think I agree. I think the characterization is stronger than the characters themselves.
So this is the first time that we have to go into what is the difference between writing, characterization, and characters.
Well, a
So
characterization I think would
characterization makes characters. Because
well
if you just have a character written down, it's not a character until you characterize it,
well like the
right?
guy who's hopping on one leg though. Like that's a memorable character to me. That's not a character that's in any way
Well,
fleshed out. It's just kind of a background detail and a joke. But
it's a comedy piece.
right.
It's Yeah, it's comic relief. It's basically C3PO with no lines.
Yeah, like Strack is not a well fleshed out character,
Strack is the worst character in this movie.
but I think that the guy playing Strack kind of plays up the character well to the point where you're
Wouldn't that be more
excited to
acting
see
though?
him fall to his death, you know?
Because his writing is terrible. He plays a frat boy from 1990.
That's what I'm saying
Uh,
though. I'm distinguishing that I think the characterization goes more into acting
okay.
and even
So
directing than it does the specific character writing itself.
I partly agree, but when we're talking about characters, we have to talk about them as a whole. Um, I'm sorry, but I'm going back to Batman Begins. The way that you feel about Rachel in Batman Begins is the same way I feel about Julie in this movie. The
I mean,
exact same way.
they're very similar characters.
They're very similar characters.
I think that Batman,
Not just because
yeah,
they're both lawyers, but well, I didn't even know Julie was a lawyer until like I thought she was just like some administrative like person. I don't even know who she works for. But I don't know if she works for Strack's company or anything like that. They don't go into detail on that at all. All they do is like
right.
have her notice a piece of paper, be Strack's love interest for some reason, and be a love interest for or be the girlfriend of Liam Neeson's character.
Yes. And I like
So
Frances McDormand in the movie. I think she brings a good,
she's
performance to
definitely
the
the best
character.
actor in the movie.
Yeah.
I don't think that's saying much to me, but sure,
I
I
think the
will give you that.
difference is that I mean Darkman isn't a movie that I think is taking itself very seriously, whereas The Dark Knight is, and she stood out the most among a group of great actors, doing giving great performances, giving kind of an okay performance, whereas in this one, in a very similar style role, is giving a good performance among a bunch of other actors who
Well, at the time, she was the only good actor known in this movie. No,
I mean, yeah, because Raimi is friends with the Coen brothers, and McDormand is married to one of the Coen brothers, and
but she
so
was also nominated for Fargo, so she was a
yeah,
well known good actress.
Fargo came out after this though.
Fargo came out after this?
Yeah, Fargo's
I thought it
95.
came out in like 80s.
No, Fargo's
Oh.
95. So, I think Blood Simple had
Oh,
come out, but uh, the Coen brothers only had one or
but
two
she has been
movies.
nominated. Not necessarily for Fargo at the time, but she had been nominated before, no?
I don't
Or am I
remember.
misremembering this?
I don't remember exactly. I think
I think it's important
yeah.
to note, but I don't think it's important for this movie.
Right.
Uh, God, she has 4 Oscars. Wow,
Yeah, I mean, because she won for
3
producing
billboards
Nomadland,
recently. Oh, that's true.
and she won for acting in Nomadland and Three Billboards.
That's right. Mississippi Burning,
Yes,
1989.
yes, I knew that.
That's what I
Yeah,
was thinking of.
yeah,
So a year prior. So she is coming off of a very successful acting career already, ish, you could say.
right. I mean, so is
Or
Liam
she's the
Neeson.
most well-known actor here.
I mean, Liam Neeson was well known too. I'm trying to think of what else Liam Neeson would have been most well known for at the
I
time.
don't. I prior to 1990, I don't know that he's well known. I think he's slightly seasoned, but more so as like a TV series type actor. Not necessarily just a TV series, but like one of those actors that pops up in random movies. I don't think he was well known for a lead role.
Yeah, looking at it, I think you're right about that. So,
I think they grabbed. I think the studio grabbed him because they really didn't want to grab Bruce Campbell
yeah,
specifically, and I because of the fact that Liam Neeson was not that well known, but they wanted a quote unquote well known actor. I don't agree that they simply just grabbed Liam Neeson because they, you know, because Bruce Campbell wasn't as well known.
yeah. Liam Neeson
Because
really didn't have a lot
Bruce
of
Campbell
roles.
at this time, Evil Dead 2, he is a fantastic actor, and I think he would have done much better in this role.
I mean, it's a.
Ugh.
I mean, I kind of agree and kind of disagree. I think once
You
again, I
gotta
think
watch Evil Dead 2 again, man.
I mean, I watched it like last year, so.
Gotta watch it again.
Oh, it's
It's so
great. I
he's
love
so
it.
good in it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I just for the
But
sake of this movie,
just him acting in that movie is much better than Liam Neeson in this movie.
I'm not gonna say that this is Liam Neeson's like magnum opus. This is
I'm
very
not
far from it.
yeah. Again, not talking about necessarily Liam Neeson. I think Liam Neeson does a poor job compared to what Bruce Campbell already has done in Sam Raimi movies.
Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying.
So,
Yeah,
yeah. So I think under Raimi, Bruce Campbell would have done a better job with this character. Maybe it's because Liam Neeson, this is the first time he's working with him. Maybe because this is not really like a movie that's ever been done necessarily with these kind of like actors writing visuals, that kind of thing. But I think Bruce Campbell absolutely could have handled it
well, I guess I just
much
like
better.
that it's Liam Neeson because it is so different for like what he's normally known for, and I like seeing him in this kind of light. It just makes him a little like I don't know. I like that it's Liam Neeson in this movie, but I get what you're saying.
To an extent, yes, but we're thinking about like Liam Neeson as uh the man who does Taken and The Gray and like the A Team and
Or in the
that
yeah, and
those
then
kind
like
of
other
movies.
dramas and stuff, more so in the '90s and everything.
Yeah, more so. Well, probably because he came off of this movie and they were like, "All right, let's not have him do an action movie for a little bit. Let's calm down there. Let's not have him putting cones on his head."
All right, so for characters then, are we both like this is a 0 for characters?
I'm really pushing towards a 0.
Yeah, because in all of these categories, I would trend to a 1, but I understand like
So
what you're saying.
I think if we're being fair to every single movie that we are going to talk about and every single movie that we have talked about, when it comes to characters, action movies are going to falter because they have to focus on action and visuals sometimes for screen time over characters.
Yes,
And I
that's true.
think we have to deduct points for that
Yeah, like if there's an action
because
movie that has exceptional characters, I think something like a John Wick, then
something honestly something like an Avengers Infinity War. The
yeah,
characters are absolutely
right. The
insane in
characters are
that
great, but
with how
yeah,
many characters they had to juggle. It's very well done.
right.
So yeah, I think there are times when action movies can have two when it comes to characters. I think it's a disadvantage, but I don't think it's impossible.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, character 0. Directing, okay. Directing, I would give a 2 here. However, I
I
understand what
I
you were saying before.
I am leaning heavily towards a 1 because I have seen a few other. Honestly, you're gonna find this hilarious. I would say that when it comes to movies directed by Sam Raimi, I think Multiverse of Madness is a better directed movie than this.
I don't disagree with that.
So when it comes to Sam Raimi movies specifically, I think this is his worst directed one, in my opinion, of course. Um, but I think it's just good. I
Okay,
can't really give the directing a great.
we'll drop it to a 1. We'll drop it to a 1 because I would give it a great because of how much joy it gives me. I don't think it's technically the best directed movie or anything, but I think the way
Well, a two is great, and
yeah
there are
the
man,
choices just bring me a lot of joy. So I would
and
say it's
also
great for me, but
it's
that's
stuck
subjective.
in between a bad era of action movies that I would give absolute zeros to directing.
Yeah.
So it has a lot of disadvantages going for it. There are a lot of great directed movies of that time, like a Jurassic Park 3 years later, um or was that 4 years later? Man, did Schindler's List and Jurassic Park come out in the same year?
Yes.
God, Steven Spielberg is insane.
I know.
Yeah.
Then he had like a step down version of the same kind of year with Amistad and Jurassic Park: The Lost World coming out in the same year.
Oh, The Lost World.
Like
Man,
Amistad's
I
good, but
would be a
not
lot
as good.
happier if he had not directed The Lost World. Oh, because he
Yeah,
didn't direct three, did he?
no, absolutely. Oh, if you've
Thank God.
watched three recently, I watched three for the first time a couple
Alan.
years ago. Oh my gosh, three is atrocious. Like
I can give so many people PTSD with that one movie.
Jurassic Park 3 makes the most recent one, Dominion, look really good.
Oh
Like in terms
no,
of from its
I haven't
directorial
seen Dominion,
standpoint.
so and I
Dominion's biggest crime is how kind of boring it is. For the finale of the whole Jurassic franchise, it's like, it's just kind of
oh yeah.
about locusts and it's dull. So the three
It's
is
weird
a little
because
bit more entertaining, but
I thought Jurassic World, of course, is not like did it make one? Yeah, it made a billion, like
oh yeah,
one point
Jurassic
five
World was
billion
a
dollars. It made
huge hit. Yeah.
absolute hilarious money, but I didn't think much of it. I felt like it was Avatar to me. It was just grandiose, but not really that. It was just meh.
Avatar is much better than Jurassic World.
I'm talking I'm talking about like
I get what you're
the
saying.
first one to me is very very meh. I think the reason people love that movie is purely because of the fact that it was so like 3D and so like grandiose.
Yeah,
I
it
don't
was
think it's
nostalgia bait, hook, line, and sinker, and it got
yeah.
everyone.
James
So,
Cameron has many better movies.
the first Avatar, yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. I don't think it's his best movie, but I think that technologically it stands in a weird place that I think will have way more impact than we even know it will have going forward.
Well, this
But
movie has a significant amount of impact based on how comic book movies. I understand why a lot of people like this movie, oddly enough, because of the fact that it reminds me quite a bit of newer comic book movies somehow.
yeah.
It
No, yeah,
feels
for
like
sure.
studios grabbed a lot from this when they really shouldn't have, because they have no idea what to do with it. And it's just my opinion, of course, but Sam Raimi took on too much, and he's Sam Raimi. So how are like the new MCU boys going to, or guys and gals going to deal with this better? So I don't
Yeah.
see it.
Well,
That's why I
okay.
don't have much faith in the MCU from now on.
Yeah. All
Yeah,
right.
back to acting.
Back to acting.
So Frances McDormand does a fine job. Liam Neeson does a fine job in parts.
I like Liam Neeson's
I
performance. I
understand
like
that.
the campier side of his performance too. I think he leans into the material well. I really like what he does here.
So when it comes to ADR, I know you talked about ADR in Network, and how it detracts from movies a little bit. There is a lot of ADR in this movie. How do you want to put that into account? Would you do that for editing, or would you do that for acting?
I mean, it's
Because that's
still
my only argument here. Frances McDormand and parts of Liam Neeson are the only actors I like in this movie.
I
Because all the
enjoy
other
all of
ones are
the
just
side
cookie cutter.
characters. They are, but they play them up in a fun way. I think like all of the different gangsters and stuff. They play it up
They
in a
just
fun
feel
way.
very, very like late '80s, early '90s henchmen, though.
I mean, they
It's just
absolutely
beyond the
are.
pale.
They absolutely are. But late '80s, early '90s henchmen are a lot more memorable than modern day henchmen. You know.
That doesn't mean good.
But I like it. I like that. I like those movies. I like '80s action movies, and
But we're talking about like great acting here.
I mean, you're right. All right. Well,
Because
all right, we'll pop
we've
in a
digressed
zero.
way too much. No. I was actually going to give it a one because of that.
Okay, well
Um,
then let's give it a one because I want the one.
I thought you were going to give it a two. I was about to be
I wasn't
very
going to
very
argue for a
furious.
two. I was not going to argue for a two.
Okay, I'm ready to fight my straw man.
All right, visuals. Visuals is another one I give a two to personally, although I understand that there's also some green screen stuff, so I'm willing to
I
go down to a
so
one.
so the dated and also the incorrect choices for like the green screen like turning cranes thing. If it's done for comedy, I get it because it made me laugh when I realized it in my second viewing. But man, you could just have a matte painting behind it, and that would serve much better when it came to like I the shot of Durant and Strack like walking from the door of the office to like the desk or like to the window,
Yeah.
you can see the
Oh
green
yeah.
screen like
Uh
not
huh.
move with it. So, and that just takes me right out of the movie.
But I
And
love a lot of the way that the movie does look in so
I
many
agree.
different other places. So I can't give it a two. Like, or
I I
yeah,
will give it a 1 because it's definitely ahead of its time with some of the practical effects and that
yeah.
kind of thing.
Okay,
Um Especially 1990, yeah.
right.
There's yeah.
Okay, so editing. Now this is maybe the one I feel most strongly about giving a two because I think this is where Raimi's style and editing and stuff with the way that things are compositive over each other, like those classic like things going across the screen and like just kind of the weirdness of it. I feel really strongly because that's maybe the most unique angle that the movie has over other contemporary type films.
I honestly can't argue against it, and I'm probably going to fight for the ADR thing with sound.
Yeah.
So, sure, too.
All right. Sound.
I just don't feel passionate about the editing. I feel much more strongly about, might be a little spoiler alert, but I feel much more strongly about the editing for the movie that is coming up next.
Okay.
I will talk about that. When it comes to sound, Danny Elfman's score I actually like a little bit better than the Batman score. The
Yeah.
Batman score has that fantastic, like, title.
The theme.
Uh, the theme is used constantly to this day for any animated
Yes.
Batman movie.
Even live
So
action
that is
Batman movies sometimes.
even live action Batman movies, yeah, even ones not with Danny Elfman. So it's
Yep.
a bit like John Williams' Imperial March. It's just now the sound of the franchise
Right.
from now on. So I think this is more subtle. Some of the things don't really work. I can't point to an example right now, but like I said, the ADR is atrocious in this movie.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
it's not always the best with like that, but it works for me because the like he is covered in like his mouth is usually
it's
covered
not
in
just that.
cloth.
Francis McDormand has some pretty bad ADR.
I don't remember any of that, but I believe that you would say that.
So I can the most egregious example is the first Strack scene where she says Mr. Strack and then goes into like I found a piece of paper. It's like suddenly all up in your face for the landscape shot and then it's like slightly muffled and just a
Yeah.
different overall sound. That plus the he wants to marry me like right before the explosion scene, clearly ADR.
Yeah.
So it's just those two things. Yes, Darkman himself. It's just so awkwardly like synced up because he's got like chatterbox teeth
Right.
that he has to. It's like one of those times where you chose which hole you're digging and now you're stuck with it, kind of thing. Like Raimi chose to have chatterbox teeth and no lips and that
Right.
face, and he just kind of had to stick with it.
Right.
So he kind of set himself back on purpose. Um, which again, I like the makeup and everything like that, but man, does the voice not carry well. I would still just give it a 1.
Yeah, I'm with
I
you on the
also
one.
think Danny Elfman is like I I like some of his music, but man, it's very derivative from himself. He just
Oh
copies
yeah,
himself most of the time.
that's a lot of composers.
Yeah, Hans Zimmer does it quite a bit, and John
James
Williams does it
James
quite a bit.
Horner does it a lot too.
But when you're copying yourself and it's a pretty meh score, you're just copying a meh score turning into
Yeah,
another like middle score. You're like when John Williams copies himself, or like when Howard Shore does it in The Lord of the Rings, it makes sense because it's that motif or that same motif over and over again. But if you're copying a great score, it's still going to be a great score.
yeah.
So
I
it's
think I
that kind
think
of thing.
I think that yeah, I kind of agree. Like I think that the Batman theme in Burton's Batman is great and the rest of the score is good, but it relies so heavily on that theme. I think
It's insane to me. Danny Elfman has like he's got the Simpsons theme,
yeah.
he's got the Batman theme, and yet I can't like tell you another theme that I enjoy from like the movies that isn't like Tim Burton.
Well,
So
Well, that's I was about to say. Like, I think that this score overall I like more than the Batman theme
Then
outside
Tim
of the
Burton
theme
ones, yeah.
itself. But then I think that he outdoes himself in all of these things with the Spider-Man scores that he does.
That's true. He does have the Spider-Man score. I forgot about that. I thought it
Yeah,
was a different
I
composer.
think
I will
yeah,
have to give him that then.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
it's definitely not Danny Elfman's best.
but
Definitely not
it's
his worst
solid
though.
though. Yeah, it's solid. I like Danny Elfman quite a bit because I like all of his Tim Burton scores and all of those
He's
things.
a bit
So
like Sam Raimi to me. He's niche. I like some of his work, but I
yeah,
it's
I see
just
what you're saying.
that kind of thing.
Yeah, action is our next category for this
Hmm.
movie. Um, Action, I'd give a one. I think that there's a lot of actually really
It's
solid action scenes.
there's a lot of dated scenes though.
There's
Yeah,
also a lot of dated stuff in there too that
like
doesn't hold up as
that
well.
first action scene
Yeah, like the
is
first
very
one. I
strange.
love it though. Like it's very strange, but I love it. But it's not like a great example of
It's
like
not
this
good
is a
action. Yeah,
tremendous action scene. You know, it is. There's some dated stuff, but I think that especially like the highway chase towards the end and all of like the second half movie, the action stuff is good.
the Durant chasing after Durant scene, I wouldn't really call like sure it's an action. There's action happening. It's not
Yeah,
like an action scene like you would think an action scene. So
right.
it's more so for storytelling, which I've harped a lot
Right,
about.
and there's
So
like, well, I also like there's specific shot choices and stuff within the action that makes it stand out a bit more. Like in the scene where they're
yeah,
beating him up in the lab, he has those glass cabinets, and he's smashing his face through each one of them, and then it
that
like,
action scene I actually like.
yeah,
Some of the shots I was a bit murky on because I didn't know what to expect going into this movie.
right,
Uh, but I like the shot of it's on Durant. It's focused on Durant, and then Durant asks Liam Neeson a question. I can't remember his name. So he asks Liam Neeson a question, and Liam Neeson pops up into frame, answers him, and then falls back down. That kind
yeah,
of thing. And then he does the exact same thing for Durant's talking about his assistant, and then his assistant with a plastic bag over his face pops into frame, and then he pushes him away. So I like that kind of shot thing when it comes
yeah,
to action, but yeah, it feels underused for him,
mm.
oddly enough. Like the things I like that Sam Raimi does, he doesn't do a lot of that in this movie,
I
oddly enough
disagree.
somehow.
I think that this movie's full of the stuff that he does
Well,
that I
no,
love, but
I'm qualifying that as like the things that I like that Sam Raimi
yeah,
does.
I see what you're saying. Okay,
So it's
yeah,
he definitely does a lot of Sam Raimi isms, but
right.
which is what I'm going to refer to them now as. Why haven't I been calling them that the whole time? Impact. How do you want to how do you want this to play out?
Impact. It's definitely not a two. Let's just get that out of the way.
No, two would be insane for this movie.
This movie made money, but like I said before, I don't think this movie got him any more jobs necessarily. I think this movie just kept his name in the ring for things. You know, like maybe it got him a couple like his next directorial gig. Like, oh, his last movie was a hit. Like,
I'm actually going to look it up because if it got him to do Army of Darkness and possibly got him to do Spider-Man, I would fight for a one.
I would
Um,
fight for a one on this because I do think that this movie, like you said, stylistically, you still feel its footprint going forward into the superhero genre
Definitely innovative.
specifically.
Whether that be good or bad,
Right.
it's innovative.
Its footprint's there, and then especially like I said, I don't think this movie got Raimi Spider-Man. I think this movie is one of the many movies that helped Raimi get in the door to get his name in the ring for Spider-Man. But this movie definitely didn't get him Spider-Man.
Yeah.
um, so yeah, I would argue
Okay,
for
here
a
we go.
one here.
Keep in mind this is from looper.com, but it's the first one that I saw, so grain of salt.
Yeah, Looper is trash, but yeah, I know
Okay,
what
I
you're
can look
saying.
up a different one after this, but I was really just looking for what I'm just trying to find what
Yeah,
I thought was true. So, Sam Raimi partnered with a major studio, Universal, for the Liam Neeson-led Darkman. The film's titular character is the eventual persona of Doctor. Blah, 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 blah. On a budget just over $8 million, Darkman raked in a decent profit of $48 million. According to Bruce Campbell, so wait, they have a citation of a YouTube video with Bruce Campbell. This might be the evidence I'm looking for. According to Bruce Campbell, the success convinced Universal to partner with producer Dino De Laurentiis.
oh yeah, yeah,
I might be saying that wrong. For the third installment of the Evil Dead saga, it seems fitting that Ash Williams and Darkman would meet in the comic book world since their fates are intrinsically tied to one another from a commercial perspective. It might just be like it could be true, it could not be true, kind of thing. But I see why that could be true because it feels like the Evil Dead series wasn't a raving success compared to Darkman.
Yeah.
So it feels like, yeah, Universal, because Universal didn't make Evil Dead or Evil Dead 2. So it makes sense they would be hesitant on giving Sam Raimi like his franchise when he hasn't really done anything for them yet. But once he
Right.
makes Darkman, a rated R movie that is successful, sure, I could see that.
Right. I would say this movie has enough going for it to give it a one. Although
Yep.
it's definitely not like it doesn't have a great impact overall, but it has enough of an impact and a footprint in the
Yeah.
yeah. So that brings us for a total score on Darkman to be 9 out of 20.
4.5 out of 10. So when it comes just ahead of Pitch Black, actually.
I think I felt a
Ju-
little bit more passionately about defending it than you did about Pitch Black.
That's very true. Well, the thing is for Pitch Black, and again, when it comes to rating things out of 10, I take every point seriously. I would probably rate this movie a 4 and Pitch Black a 5. 5 seems about right. So it's pretty close to me. I understand that's going to annoy some people that I would put a well-loved Sam Raimi movie below like Pitch Black, but
I don't
I
think so. I think you're fine.
yeah.
Because a lot of people love Pitch Black too.
Well,
So,
you have an open mind. This is the internet we're talking about.
well, yeah, the internet's gonna have strong opinions no matter what.
This is a very polarizing movie. I noticed. Like, obviously, more people loved this movie than hated it, but it was either people loved it or people hated it. The thing is, I don't hate this movie because I don't hate movies for existing. I will always say I'm okay with more Star Wars movies because it doesn't detract from what was already there, except for the case of Palpatine coming back. That's kind of just distracting from the end of the original series. That's kind of original trilogy. That's kind of weird to bring back, but
Yeah,
like new movies existing, I'm fine with. I don't have to see them. That's fine. I'm not a
yeah,
purist when it comes to that. However, like there are bad movies that I kind of wish didn't exist, but I wouldn't want them to not exist because
yeah,
bad movies give me perspective on what I like and what are good movies.
yeah. Out of everything that we've watched too, like I've said on some of them, like if you haven't seen this, go and check it out. This one, it's like if this one seems to appeal to your specific tastes,
This
go
is
and check
very
it out.
niche.
Yeah,
This is very niche.
because I
Um
absolutely love this movie. I don't, like I said,
yeah,
I would never say that this is one of the best movies ever made. It's just one of my personal
if
favorites.
so I'm very apathetic when it comes to Sam Raimi because I enjoy some of his movies. I don't enjoy some of his movies. If you like Sam Raimi, if you are positive towards Sam Raimi, you will like this movie. If you are apathetic towards Sam Raimi or don't like Sam Raimi, don't watch this movie. It's just going
Yeah.
to make you dislike him even more. Which don't dislike the man. I separate artist from art. I don't know him as a person. I just don't like some of his movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Well, that does it for this discussion on Darkman. So
Yes, it does.
now I would like
That
to
probably
know.
that probably didn't go the way you wanted it or
No,
thought it would go.
honestly, it went exactly kind of. I didn't think you'd like this movie. I wasn't. I was hoping that you might find enjoyment in it, like in the same way that I do.
I
But
found
I figured you
some
wouldn't.
enjoyment. I I found some enjoyment, but I think again, if I had been watching this with friends and I could like pause the movie and tear it apart from time to time or like riff on it, I would like this a lot more.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, if I were just watching Troll 2 for like this podcast as a critical thinker, absolutely not. I would despise that movie through and through.
Yeah,
So,
I
it's a
understand.
bit like that.
Yeah.
I'm
So
not I'm not saying this is Troll 2 when it comes to quality. I would probably give Troll 2 a 0 out of 10 even though we only go from 1 to 10. No, we go 0 to 10 cuz we can give things 0. Oh, I can't wait for our first 0 out of 10. Can't wait to see what it's going to be.
yeah, we'll get there eventually.
That
Well,
was foreshadowing.
oh, what is your next movie, Kyle?
It's probably not foreshadowing because there are some things I will fight for this movie. Not much though. So we talked a little bit about the Academy Awards and that kind of thing. The Academy Awards, well known for a few controversies. I will not bring them up because we will talk about them later. I wanted to bring up something that we can go a deep dive into some controversies about awards and that kind of thing.
Okay.
And I wanted to do so in a way that I think will make a very interesting conversation. I have chosen Crash. the 2004 movie, not
Oh,
Cronenberg's 1996 movie about people, getting off to car crashes.
the one I'd rather watch.
The one you would rather watch. Yes. I'm talking about the Paul Haggis movie from 2004 that infamously won Best Picture, Best Editing, Best Screenplay over Brokeback Mountain, and also Good Night and Good Luck and Capote.
Yeah, well, that's been one that's like on the list of things to watch
Have you
just
not seen it?
because I've not seen it.
Oh my God, you were going to have fun with this.
I just had a lot of reluctance to watch it because of its history. So
Yep.
I
I
actually
watched
haven't.
it because of its history.
Yeah, that was eventually why I was going to end up watching it because
Yeah.
just trying to like check off Best
So,
Picture winners.
I let me do a quick. We don't need this for the episode. If you want to just call it quits now, I don't know where we are timeline wise.
We're about an hour and a half, so yeah, let's wrap up the episode.
All right.
So yeah, that'll do it for this week for Great American Movie Review. Be sure to check us out every Thursday for new episodes.
Next week is Crash. Bye.